cat in raincoat hopes you have a great day. People no longer bound by their non-disclosure agreements. What can you now disclose? Funny story. Moments after I was unceremoniously fired because my tech skills were found to be insufficient, the bosses who fired me demanded to know the whereabouts of a hugely important computer file I had worked on. I refused to help them. I even cited the exact language of the NDA I was compelled to sign. I'm prohibited from disclosing details of my employment with anyone, including past and current employees of the company, I expounded, adding, so ask someone who works here, because I don't. It was a great docu moment that I still cherish 5 years later, but now I think I can disclose the truth. I only hid behind the NDA language because I had no clue where to find their damn computer file or even where to look. I suck with computers. Fired because my tech skills were found to be insufficient. I suck with computers. This checks out. The cake/cupcake shop I used to work for claimed everything was homemade, but used Pillsbury cake mix as a base. Super common. I'm a chef and have seen this countless times. Pillsbury makes industrial size cake mixes for precisely this purpose. I'm a baker and I don't even really see this as the type of fraud people seem to. It's just all the dry ingredients pre-measured. If anyone wanted to, they could probably do an exact match with raw ingredients themselves. But honestly, it's the literal baking that a lot of people can't seem to do, and decorating a cake is next freaking level stuff. My graphic designer best friend won my town's Design the Centennial logo contest, despite having never set foot in the town. I worked for the radio station and just did an interview with one of the organizers where he lamented that there weren't very many entries. So I called my friend and said, "Want in on this?" He said, "Sure." As he lived on the other side of the country at the time, I spent the next day texting him photos of the town for inspiration. Anyway, when he won, and they found out he was a professional graphic designer who lived on the other side of the country, they made him and me sign NDAs because the town was afraid people would think they brought in a ringer. I was a contractor for NASA. I still fully support the agency, but I was extremely bummed when I learned that each separate NASA center, for instance, JPL, Kennedy, Ames, Goddard, hides many of its inventions and breakthroughs from the other centers, so that when HQ is ready to assign a big mission and a lot of dollars to one center, they have a better chance to compete over the others. Look what we invented. Ames can't do this over there. Give us the next moon orbiter. The downside is that there is a ton of reinvention and duplicated efforts going on. Sometimes years of work go down the drain when another center does the same thing faster. My perspective was, you all work for NASA. Share knowledge, collaborate. I was frequently ordered to tone down anything revealing when speaking to other centers. I dug up some ancient bones, gold, and Mycenaean tombs. I couldn't discuss the finds until the institution who ran the archaeological dig could publish the data. You can read about it here. As a lawyer, I viewed a lot of these and taught settlements. The most common use of the NDA is to keep the award amount quiet so everyone won't sue the company hoping to get that sweet settlement money. You know NDAs are only good if you have the money to sue. Worked with a company that didn't pay me, so I told them their NDA didn't apply. They threatened to sue. My response: you can't even afford to pay me, you sure as hell can't afford to sue. They also don't extend to keeping you from reporting illegal activity to the justice system. Some places may try to make people believe that, and may even try to imply it in the NDA, but it has no legal standing. Well, this is already public knowledge, and they forgot to have me sign an NDA anyway, but Savannah College of Art and Design's Ombudsman Sophia Bagnoli, the independent person who's supposed to represent students in cases of unfair treatment by the school, married one of the school's vice presidents too, and is now Sophia Aletto. It's definitely a conflict of interest, but she's still serving as independent ombudsman and currently refusing to help students get any kind of refund now that all their classes are online and they don't have access to the expensive equipment their expensive tuition is supposed to be paying for. When I was fired from Auntie Anne's in 2010, I signed a 10-year non-compete/NDA contract, promising not to detail the baking secrets or work for another pretzel establishment. Well, that ended this year, so now I can run out and start a pretzel store because the secret I was keeping was making pretzels literally requires two products, one of them being water and the other a large bag of pretzel meal / dust / powder. Quite literally anyone with $2,500 can start a pretzel stand and make perfectly fine pretzels. It's not difficult whatsoever. Well, you forgot to say what the secret browning agent is that all the pretzels get dipped into before they go on the sheet and into the oven. It's baking soda and water. Mystery solved. Also lemonade too. 4. 8. Refrigerate. I think I'm finally ready to let the world know my secret. If you've ever used VeriSite, the loading spinners you see when the report loads aren't waiting for anything. People kept complaining that reports were coming back too fast, so it must not be working right. It doesn't take long to complete a few hundred Google searches simultaneously, so the loading spinner just makes you wait a few seconds longer, so it feels like more is happening. This is a good one. Now we just need an elevator engineer to admit that the close door button doesn't actually do anything. I worked at a small bakery in New York City when I was younger. Every morning the bakery would take their day-old cupcakes and deliver them to a tour company that did Sex and the City tours. The tour company would pass our cupcakes off as cupcakes from Magnolia and significantly much more popular bakery. I went on that tour with my ex-wife and ate one of those cupcakes. Edit. The cupcake was pretty disappointing. Definitely tasted stale. After the cupcake, the tour took us to some swanky little underground bar where they fed us cosmopolitan martinis, and then it ended at a dildo store. They set us up for a good time. Star Wars Battlefront 2 EA will have microtransactions. The NDA was signed in 2016. I was getting more and more worried as the release date kept getting closer, and then it happened. The backlash was so strong that EA went down in the history books as most downvoted comment in Reddit's history. McDonald's made me sign a NDA regarding a robbery that took place during a graveyard shift. They made me take a ducking polygraph test because they thought my ex and I were involved due to the simple fact that I had stopped by that day to pick up some documents. Was a manager. I had business to do. Duck you, McMidder. Hell, the first day of my first job was at a Hardee's. We were robbed. It was really obvious my manager had set it up as there was over $1,000 in my register and she wouldn't swap out the till. Then when the robber was running off she yells out, "Wait, you forgot this," and gets the $50 and $100 bills from under the drawer, then pretended to faint. After the police interviewed us they just left. She expected me to finish my shift and I just laughed and walked out never to return. I worked at a gym, and in the showers there was yellow shampoo and blue body wash and pump dispensers. I found out that the only difference between the two soaps was the color. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You use the yellow shampoo, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You use the blue body wash, you stay in Wonderland and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. I used to work for a large gas station chain. I worked at its warehouse, where it creates a lot of the donuts. The room was really hot, so we were always sweating. There's some machines where the donuts get glazed in chocolate. They're these small machines, they look almost like a BBQ grill. They always wanted us to be super fast glazing the donuts. Working in a hot room and working at super fast speeds, it was natural for a lot of people's sweat to just drip in the chocolate underneath us. Never eat the chocolate donuts from a gas station. Honestly, if the worst thing in those donuts is human sweat, I'm impressed. Do you want to know how they make the holes in the donuts? The owner of the company is an absolute psycho. They have been trying to hire developers for years now, and despite paying really well, they can't keep them. I quit after 3 days. I was trying to help out on a high priority bug on my 3rd day when I said all the requests to X endpoint are failing, to which he replied, "I see 1 out of 500 requests succeeding. Does that sound like all to you?" He then called a company-wide all-hands meeting and proceeded to tell everyone how important it is that we all speak carefully and that we don't need ducking retards like me lying to the company, making it harder to diagnose issues. I told him to go duck himself and quit on the spot. Turns out the company has a big history of this. My boss, who had been there for 2 weeks, had tried to quit the week prior but was convinced to stay on to meet me. He left a few days after me. Apparently a few people got together and tried to tell the owner that he needs to watch how he talks to people, and he blew up on them about it too. I later heard that I was something like the 10th person to quit within their first month in a row. The sad truth is that the dude actually seems pretty smart, but has been acting like a megalomaniac while he pisses his money away and abuses his employees that are for whatever reason unwilling to leave.